Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Modern Market. This is our daily show where we go live talking about the NFT market, the crypto market, and how to make some or a lot of money on the internet. We're live on X, we're live on YouTube. We're going to get into everything that's been going on in the past 24 hours in just a moment. I'm your host, Bchek. I'm joined by my legendary co-hosts, Legendary and Sammy. And just a reminder, friends, that nothing that we say on this show is financial advice because we do not know anything for sure. So please do proceed with caution and exercise your own judgment. With that out of the way, Legendary, it is Wednesday. It is the 15th of May. How are you doing? How are you feeling?
GM, doing quite well. Fantasy Top tournament is in full season.
Yes.
Gold farming is going on. Gold distributions are happening. I still have my mind on the gold and not really seeing anything else right now on the timeline that's catching my eye, although there are things happening, and we have definitely other things to talk today about other than Blast. We actually don't have any Blast headline today as the main headline, so I'm excited for that. But still, my main focus is on the gold farming.
Does this count as farming? I was explaining to you offline yesterday and even online during the show. I've got gold fatigue. I've got farming fatigue. My back is hurting. I'm getting bored of it, which is, I know, the wrong thing to do because this is the time where the people get fatigued and then the other people can run up behind me and steal my prime positioning. This is the type of farming I was doing this morning. Does this count? I was setting up an Amazon Associates profile for the Modern Market so that we can farm all the people who are messaging, asking us how we set up the show, how we go live, how we go do this on video, how we do that on video. It's like, I need to send you these links because I can't onboard every single person, which I have done with some people, but you need to go to these links. We need to get a small commission from all of this media advisory work we're doing at the moment, kind of off the boards. Does that count as farming for you, Legendary? I don't know.
Absolutely. Market is running sideways and you're doing the good old Web2 affiliate farming. So fair enough, still counts.
Yeah, that's what I was doing all morning. It takes absolutely ages and not even halfway through the process. Sammy, how are you doing? How are you feeling? A bit of blast farming, Web2 affiliate farming. How are you doing?
I think that's a really smart thing you're doing because you're effectively setting it up for the future in terms of like an additional revenue stream for the modern market.
Correct.
So I think they talk about was it 7 revenue streams is ideal for a business. So that's
I don't know. I feel like you just picked that number out of there.
Blast farming is another one. So once you get the account linked to PackMoon, you can earn some revenue from that as well. I get your point on the fatigue. I'm fatigued on certain apps where I'm just clicking buttons, but I think there's apps that or games that are actually engaging, and I'm enjoying still doing those. So it's a bit of a mix for me.
Yeah, I'm glad you thought so. That it was a smart move to make. I'm always thinking like, okay, fine, we're in the trenches doing X, Y, and Z, like right here, right now. But I'm always thinking like, how can we like design our operations better in a way to provide for us further down the line? And something small like having the links out in various places will actually be quite a useful thing later on. It might not be like a big money spinner immediately. It's probably not. The point of it is not even to be a money spinner necessarily. It's more just like it's a time saver because when people keep coming to us asking, how do you do the roadcaster? How do you do this and that? It's like, well, go and buy all this stuff on this list. Because even though I've been to it a bunch of times, every time someone asks me, I seem to have to create a new list for them because I lose the other list somehow. So it's more a time saver. And then if they need more help, they can have more help. But that's how I'm thinking about it. Funky, your hand is raised. Welcome to the stage, my friend. You got some comments on the affiliate farming, the blast farming. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm well, GM, everybody. Just want to give you a real quick suggestion. What I suggest you do, because I know that if people click the link to a profile and look at it, it gives it a big push in the algo. You should set up a link tree on the Modern Market account. So that way you can just tell people, go to the profile on Modern Market and then get the referrals there. So that way now you're getting a double hit because you can grow the account. You can actually get the referrals. You can grow your revenue stream. So I just wanted to chime in and say that real quick.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. I've got this, like, I know what you mean, and I think it's probably helpful what you say. I've got this instinctive allergic reaction to link trees. I don't know why, or if anyone else has that. Like the fact that I need to click one link in order to get more links. It's like, I think it's because when I'm about to click the link, I have no idea how many more links are going to come at me. And then I'm always overwhelmed by how many more links there are. But I completely take a point. It's probably a helpful thing to do. I'm going to think about how we design it. At a minimum, they'll be in the YouTube videos and the Spotify videos as a place to like get some of that information. But appreciate the thoughts, Funky. Appreciate the suggestions. We are going to get into the normal show right now. As always, coming from the snapshot, which is pinned up top, we're going to hit all of the headlines today and the price action, and then we're going to get into a bigger discussion on all of those things. Starting with the snapshot, which is pinned up top, we have some price action. Bitcoin is flat, 61.9K. ETH is also flat, 2.9K. Solana is down just a couple of percent at $143. Crypto is calm, although sentiment is volatile. Like people are pranging, I think. We're going to talk about that in detail in just a little bit. Number one, State of Wisconsin Investment Board buys $99 million worth of Bitcoin. Some context there. According to its website, the agency is an investment organization that manages the Wisconsin retirement system and the state investment funds, alongside some smaller funds. And Eric Balkunas, our favorite ETF reporter, said, wow, a state pension bought IBIT in first quarter. Normally, you don't get these big fish institutions for a year or so. But as we've seen, these are no ordinary launches. Good sign, expect more as institutions tend to move in herds. I want to touch on that in a bit more detail in just a little bit. Number two, prediction market Polymarket raises $70 million backed by Peter Thiel and Vitalik. Decentralized prediction market Polymarket has successfully raised $70 million across 2 rounds. Most recent round is 45 million Series B, and the earlier one was at 25 million Series A. Very, very impressive. I know Legendary has been looking at the prediction market stuff. I think he'll lead that section for us. And finally, Pump.Fund makes $18.7 million in 3 months with current fees, rivaling Solana. The TLDR here is the platform saw 21,000 new meme coins deployed in just 36 hours recently and achieved an all-time high of $1.2 million in fees in one day with 19,000 deployments. Over the past 7 days, Pump.Fund has generated over $4 million in revenue, which is comparable to Solana's revenue. The platform is currently on a $100 million annual run rate, showcasing the potential for rapid and efficient product development in the crypto space. That's pretty wild. Just absolutely have to touch on that and what is going on there. I want to tie that into the meme coin supercycle thesis, which I've been tweeting about a little bit this morning. If you've read those tweets already, definitely something to dive into. And getting into some floor price action, we've got CryptoPunks up a couple of percent above 40, ETH again at 40.7, Bored Apes down 2 to 13.5, Mutants at 2.5, DGods at 2.1, Captains at 3, Azuki's the only collection really up 5% to 5.3, Penguins down 5% to 11.2, Mad Lads slipping again to beneath 70 to 68, and the Nouns winning bid was at 6.4 ETH. Some notable sales, CryptoPunk 3D selling for 59.5, some other ones moving their floor price above 40 again, and the Bored Ape Rainbow selling for 17.1 ETH. Legendary, that is the price action. Those are the headlines. Before we get into a deeper dive, kind of getting into the meat there, what is catching your attention from the market at the moment?
It's actually a pretty insane story that has been unfolding over the last hour. If we take a look at the Mintify heat map on the ETH mainnet side of things, you will see that the top 2 collections in terms of red numbers, in terms of dumping right now, are both Pixelmon, the Mons, as well as the trainers being down 25, respectively 33%. What has happened is there was an anonymous wallet 1 hour ago that basically dumped every single Pixelmon and trainers that they've been holding into bids.
Wow.
Including, so Pixelmon are at a 1 ETH floor, including bids that went all the way down to 0.01 ETH for both Pixelmon and trainers. So complete dump of all the assets into bids, despite the bid wall not being high enough to sustain the dump. And if you check the on-chain data, you will see that there's been like 10 Pixelmons that have been transferred at 0.1 ETH. Same with trainers.
0.01.
0.01, so $30, just for clarity,
So,
for one
so just
ETH.
for people's context, people watching in, you can see that the main Pixelmon collection is at a 1 ETH floor, even now, and the Pixelmon trainers floor is at a 0.2 ETH floor. So what the hell's going on here, Legendary?
First thought was, has the wallet been hacked?
Sure.
I obviously cannot tell that because they've only been holding, I think, Pixelmon and trainers in that wallet. But yeah, I mean, there's been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like 10 dumped at 0.01, a dozen dumped at 0.4, 0.5, 0.7, 0.6. So I don't know what's been going on, but anyhow, that tanked the floor price significantly, as well as some. If it wasn't a hack, it was quote unquote just a dump. Some very lucky people on the buying side who had very low offers hitting, and kind of reminded me of the situation. I don't recall what exchange it was, where BTC had this one clip to 9K, and people were actually, who had orders priced in at 9K, able to get some juicy BTC at a beautiful discount. So I don't know. I'm rethinking. Is it worth gambling on one more thing to just have low ball offers in a couple collections and just see if they hit at least once a year, while you're bidding and on other stuff on Blur? I mean, obviously it's not a reliable strategy. It's not a strategy at all. It's a gamble. But it just reminded me of that BTC situation.
Fair enough. That is pretty wild. Potentially a hack, I guess, still kind of under investigation. But just for a little bit of context, Legendary, I know you are an ambassador for Pixelmon, also potentially an investor in addition to that. Like, the backdrop here is the token is coming like relatively soon too, but I guess the floor price is maintained a high floor price because the NFTs can expect to receive some type of healthy allocation, right?
Yes, there's been a staking program going on similar to Captain's that has concluded in the meantime, where you were able to farm relics with your Pixelmon, your trainers, all of that put together, and they do reflect in an allocation at TGE, as well as there has been a public sale for holders as well quite a while ago. Talked about that because it sold out in a couple minutes. And also massive shout out to Moritz, because he's the one who pointed out what has happened with the trainer and the Pixelmon collection over the last hour, because otherwise I completely would have missed that detail.
Okay, that's really good. That's good to kind of have that additional context. To be fair, across the board though, like everything is red really. The only thing I pointed out in the morning that seemed to be up was Azuki by 5%. Someone on my timeline, Kien, I think it was, who's actually a really good follow for stuff on Azuki and base. He's really good on base. Said that they've been doing, what did he say? He said, there's some kind of double points thing at the moment on Azuki, which is to do with their coin coming out, Legendary. You hold an Azuki as well. Do you know about this double points?
Sorry, repeat the last part because I had police outside. It was super loud for me.
There's something about getting double points at the moment on Azukis.
Really?
Okay, so you don't know about that.
No, completely missed that.
Okay, well, that's cool knowledge. I think the tweet was from, I'm just going to try and find it, Kien, who commented on my post this morning on Azuki's being up. He said this. He said, this is helpful knowledge. Talked about it here. Most Azuki purchases are leveraged. I asked, so basically this move up has been is on leverage. So that's one thing to note. So I asked him if he thinks there's a sell-off incoming. And this is what he said. I'm going to share it for the people on screen as well. Might as well. He said, currently Azuki is giving holders 2x points for anime coin game. This lasts for 2 weeks, so I'm expecting the sell-off will happen sometime next week or two. This is the kind of stuff, if like, you're kind of trading blind, right? If we don't know these things, and so many of these projects have something going on in the background related to some type of token or chain coming in the not too distant future, that, wow, like I had no idea about that. As you can see, I said excellent data, thanks man, I didn't know. But we could be completely trading blind sometimes when it comes to this stuff. Sammy, want to come to you as well. Legendary picked out Pixelmon as being the big movers down. What's kind of catching your attention before we get into the headlines?
Well, actually, Crypto Mochus made a good point in the comments, the YouTube comments, about the sort of linking it back to the bubble token. So the underwhelming expectations from that launch a couple of days ago. I think he referenced a Grail thread, so Grail.eth thread, which I'll just pin it in the private chat now for you to have a look at. But TLDR is that Grail, he's basically making the point that tokens are being rushed to market with no real sinks or utility on the other end. So there's a potential that people could effectively suddenly realize, shit, this is just going to absolutely tank on the other side. This token could be absolutely worthless. Therefore, like without any tangible value coming to market, then is there concerns from current holders? I think that's kind of the TLDR from that post. But yeah, I think outside of gone.
Nice. I've just got it here. Might just take a look at it for a second, see what he says. He says, what happens when you have a monetary system where there are no goods and where there are no services in which to spend that currency, where the only use of that currency is to trade said currency for another currency? Nothing good. This is the state I see present with almost all, in fact, Web3 games with a token right now. A token is rushed to market solely to capture positive market conditions, but with absolutely zero token utility, zero token sinks. Launching a token without utility is a good way to damage your long-term ecosystem. If you have zero utility for said token, then the utility is to sell that token. Strong words from Grail. If you don't know Grail, Grail is like a, as his name suggests, a Grail NFT collector. He says he's pixel rich, dollar poor, has invested in a lot of these tokens, kind of specialized in gaming. I think that would be fair to say as well. So interesting to hear his thoughts and kind of him speaking out there. Sammy, you wanted to maybe take in another direction?
Yeah, so I think outside of that, I think, like you said, it's pretty much a sea of red outside of, well, pretty much the whole both ETH and Blast market. So I was more looking towards the fancy top stuff. So if you look through some of the sales there, there's been some flips. So some of those 2-star cards that were new, fresh out the gates a couple of days ago. So Ryan Selkis is an example, like heavy politics stance with the current market. So he's posting quite heavily. So I think I've seen him go from like 0.02 to I think he's 0.16 now. So people who bought him in bulk have made a decent profit on that. And I think Zeneca, which we spoke about, his legendary sold for 9 ETH the other day, and there's been a few more that have been traded at that, well, not quite that level, but in the 2-3 ETH range. So there's a good for those who want to keep on top of it, there's a good like automated bot that shows the high value sales. So I can post the link in the YouTube comments for people that want to monitor that a little bit more closely.
Yeah, please do. I kind of need that as well. So that'd be really, really helpful. Legendary, I know you wanted to come in here as well.
Yep, because Zeneca had some good aggregated statistics on that, saying that 76% of floor prices are down over the last 24 hours. Again, referring to Fantasy Top, 41% are down more than 20%, about a quarter are down more than 30%. And on the flip side, only 9% of cards are up more than 20%. So definitely readjusting going on with how the hero V.0.3 score plays out and the first learnings from the tournament. Although all of that has to be taken with a bit of a caveat because it's a sliding adjustment, a sliding upgrade to the new hero scoring, which is continuously being rolled out. It was not a switch that was flipped and everything is scored on the new metric, but it's an ongoing process. And one more side note on a different project that we spoke about yesterday, that global PvP game on base, where we try to nuke all countries but one and rug their LPs as meme coins. There's actually people doing quite successfully trading that. Only just yesterday, someone loaded up 10 ETH, was buying USA, stocking up on a couple other countries, and is already up at 75 ETH. And did realize up more than 75 ETH, but did realize 75 ETH in profit.
Wow. Okay. High risk game, I suspect, given that at any point in time you might get nuked and have your liquidity pool rugged from underneath you. But I actually I do want to find some time at some point to play that game. I don't know when.
It's just like Blur NFTs. You can get it rugged. You can not rugged. You can get nuked at any time for different reasons.
Yeah, exactly. I do want to find some time to play it. It sounds kind of interesting to me. Shout out to Kalano in the Twitter comments. Interesting bounce for Imaginary 1 from 0.5 to 0.9 right now. That's interesting to call out. Obviously, after TGE, these NFTs experienced like quite an aggressive dump. Seems like that one at least is bouncing back to a fairly healthy level if you think about it. If those NFTs are at 0.9, it's no joke to be at a 0.9 ETH floor. And one final point on imaginary ones, I want to bring Brett into the fantasy top conversation to get some reflections, because we don't have a fantasy top segment today, but I just want to hear from him. But again, in terms of expectations of where these things are, I know, again, some people have been saying that imaginary ones has been a disappointment. We might be slightly biased as an investor, but equally, like, there've been disappointing ones when I've been an investor and I've said, no, this is actually disappointing. For this one, I'd actually probably stand up for them and say, like, do you know what? 100-something million market cap. Sorry, 100 something million FTV, like in this particular kind of market, like that's way better than a lot of things that's happening right now. Like they're doing much better. They've got some like good stuff happening. So I think people's expectations have kind of run away from themselves. And yes, I'm an investor in that one in particular, but I hope people can see that, you know, when sometimes the investments we make go the other direction, we're also able to say, like, yeah, do you know what? This one is probably below par for whatever reason, at least for the moment. So I think that's a helpful thing to just provide some context. And then I wanted to go to Brett, because you mentioned fantasy top legendary. Well, Sammy did as well. The kind of big sales happening, but also the big readjustment in terms of the market. Things were exceptionally hot running up to the tournament 2, which started yesterday. Just want to hear from Brett and get some reflections on all of the changes happening, how things are looking for the first tournament, and how he is seeing it. So Brett, welcome to the stage, my friend. We'd love to hear some reflections on Fantasy Top.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, honestly, like, I think everyone's had an opinion on the actual implementation of the changes and stuff. I'm not that interested in that. The thing I'm really focusing on is still how inefficient the marketplace is, because everyone still doesn't understand what the fuck's going on. People feel super attached to identities as opposed to like performance when they're in a competitive game. So like I've been putting out some tweets recently of like people are like, oh, here's my deck for whatever. I'm like, bro, your one card is, you think it looks cute and it's a person that you recognize, and you're paying for, according to the market anyways, like 3 times the price of a card that's doing the exact same like performance. And so like I'm just watching that, seeing how it evolves and seeing what I can do to gain an edge there. I got a local spreadsheet that's, you know, compiling everything, treating them unique and stuff. So I'm mostly just watching that and seeing how the marketplace forms.
And selling access to that spreadsheet, I think yesterday the price was 25 ETH, Brett. Is that still where the price for access is?
I've had so many people reach out to me on that. I think I'm actually going to like create a Google sheet and give people access to it. I reached out to Travis too. And I'm going to get API access so I can have it auto updating and then like just open it up to people, or at least have like a forum for people to discuss it. And then, yeah, we can try to cook a little bit.
Just as an interesting point, like obviously you can kind of take it in whatever way you want, but I saw someone who had also built like this data stuff. I don't know if you saw, they did like a NFT mint on Blaster, where if you paid 0.2, you lock it up, and for as long as you're holding that, it's refundable, but you as the creator then get to keep the yield, and then people get access to the spreadsheet for as long as they want. I think that's what they were doing for access to some site. Could be an interesting thing. I don't know.
Yeah, honestly, I'm kind of thinking about trying to tie it back into friend tech in some way. Ooh. Like I could just have someone own keys, and then if they own a key to either my club or either my specific one, and then I can see you have an NFT, and then yeah, just play around that way. I don't know. I'm fucking around, not really taking it too seriously, but there's something there.
Nice. Sounds pretty interesting. Okay, that's awesome insight from Brett, as always, who is playing the game and always got great insights on Fantasy Top. We want to move on though today.
Can I say one other thing? Something's going to keep emerging out of this. I had that picture yesterday about Thread Guy and his yield trade. So this is a hugely underrated thing that's happening right now with Fantasy Top and just SocialFi broadly, right? Like now everyone has gone to quickly tag their wallets over there for me. So now I have direct Twitter links from them to their account, which is fed by another wallet. So I've tagged everyone's wallet, and I'm just continuously like doing that, so I can see all the activity that's taking place on Blast, and I can backtrack to see if someone's actually LARPing about like trades that they're making on PackMoon or whatever. So I think that's the other exciting thing that I actually have from Fantasy Top, and it's just the social linking that we now have.
So just on that, Brett, though, I think there's a lot of wallets that are privy wallets, so they're not actually the native wallets that people are using primarily on Blast, unless you're tracking it between the transactions between that privy wallet that you import into Blast
Yep.
and other.
Yep. You have to feed it from somewhere, right? So usually, that's what I do with Thread Guy, right? Thread Guy hasn't traded on that, so but he did fund that wallet from his actual yield account where he did the yield thing. So you find that account, see where it was funded from. If it was consistently funded from the other address, then it's likely their other account. And if it matches with some of their stories on the timeline, then now I have both their accounts.
Dude, that's so funny. For the people who don't know exactly precisely what we're talking about, like obviously we're in I co-host the evening show with Thread Guy. Thread Guy is giving himself shit, frankly, for this particular trade. But I guess what's cool is Bread can now actually check, like, have you done the dumb thing that you're claiming that you've done? And what you can see on the screen here is Bread's not analysis, I guess, but just a screenshot of Thread Guy's buys on yield and his sells, and it's just one of the most horrific pictures you could possibly ever see. It's just like buys between 12 to 22 to not 22 to 12 to 20 something dollars, down again to 10, up again to 16, and then selling for like 70 cents. I can't get shit for sharing it because Thread Guy was giving himself shit as well. So it's out in the open. This was not a fun trade for him to participate in, but very funny.
Some people were critical. Yeah, some people were critical of me posting that, but it's like, yeah, Thread Guy was totally open about it. And I will still show stuff that people are like, if they're doing nefarious shit. Like I did some of that with Friend because now I can do that. But yeah, like it's all in good fun. And like, dude, we all have those kind of trades. Yeah. Like it's part of the game.
Yeah, I think it would be different if someone was like really, really hurting from something and they'd been, I don't know, trying to keep it quiet. I don't know. It was something nefarious. Yeah, just if it was a different situation where he was not like openly laughing about it in front of 300, 400 people, it would be okay. Okay, that's fun stuff. I want to get into this bigger question actually today. Before we get into the headlines, this got me thinking earlier, and I wanted to share this take. A few people have retweeted it, kind of thinking about, I don't know, just where we are in the cycle, kind of about meme coins as well, what it means to be in this type of super cycle, why sentiment is the way that it is. I'm just going to read the take because it got a lot of traction and I want to hear our perspectives on this. I want to hear from Legendary, Sammy, and Brett as well. This came from Cred. Oh, you can't see it on the screen. Why is that frozen? I need to remove that. Stop sharing. I'm going to share the screen properly. Here we go. There we go. So part of the reason there's so much disagreement regarding where we are cyclically is because returns have been so unevenly distributed. Additionally, a lot of previous cycle signposts have been absent and or entirely invalid. The conventional risk curve trade, Bitcoin to ETH, large caps to mid caps to shitters, has been unprofitable. Barbell portfolio of Bitcoin plus memes has dominated. Number two, ETH BTC has been remarkably weak, whereas historically it has benefited from a risk-on environment. This has also spilled over into ETH L1 and L2 proxy trades being suboptimal. Crypto as a casino thesis has been captured by meme coins on Solana, versus previous cycles at casino was NFTs on ETH. Meme coins have been consistently leading, and rotating from that sector has been costly, whereas memes pumping has historically been an indicator of being late in the cycle. Number four, Bitcoin hasn't offered a series of previously standard bull market pullbacks of 30 to 40%. This has created a bunch of early sellers and sideline traders, also led to a proliferation of left truncated cycle discourse, shorter cycle, super cycle, and other heterodox variants. There are so many new tokens, we speak about this a lot. There are so many new tokens amplified by meme coins that the crypto bull market no longer means everything that's listed goes up for weeks or months. The rising tide has not lifted all boats, and there are very clear winners and losers, and they've broadly stayed the same, no massive rotations. Taking all this into account, it's entirely plausible that you have trader A who rode Bitcoin, Solana, and memes and feels like stuff is hot and needs to cool off, whereas trader B has barely made any money and feels like stuff hasn't even picked up yet. We all have different portfolios, trading styles, time horizons, risk appetite, volatility tolerance, and a bunch of other stuff. So I found this pretty interesting because it touched on a couple of things that I think I've been thinking about and feeling myself, particularly that last part about how, you've got people who are like wildly up if you caught particular rotations, but equally people who've just been who haven't seen much growth. If you didn't have the right things in this period of time, you could really be not significantly better off than where you were a long time ago, because that idea of, okay, we're in a bull market and everything is going to rip, I think it might have done for like a small period of time a few months ago. And then things have like really, really cooled off again to the point where those things that are up from before, it's like, it's not that much. So I wanted to get some reflections from you here, Legendary, also on the point of there being just way too many tokens now. What are your thoughts when you kind of read something like this, kind of reflecting on the kind of the discrepancy in market sentiment?
I think it's a quite good read that I have a strong opinion on, because I do agree very strongly. We have been speaking about this on the modern market, where we said, we have 2 or 3 cycles that we look back, and because something happened in a certain way last cycle and the previous cycle before that, it will happen in the exact same way. And we were so highly confident about those rotations, despite just not having enough data for that. And obviously, it's if you have significant things that are changing, like a BTC ETF, and you still have a strong correlation to what stock markets are doing, and then you had NFTs as a wild card who just appeared for the first time last time, there's no reason that this cycle will play out exactly like the last cycle did. And if you add a number to that, if you look on CoinMarketCap, on CoinGecko, at the 24-hour volume for some of the largest or most traded currencies, you will obviously see, I'm cutting all the tables out, by the way, you'll obviously see BTC on top with 24 billion traded over the last 24 hours, followed by ETH with 12 bill, followed by Pepe with 3.4 bill, followed by Solana with 2.4 bill. So Pepe has been traded more over the last 24 hours than Solana, which is an entire L1 with a whole ecosystem behind that. And that kind of goes to show that you have this meme coin super cycle. You don't have that typical rotation. I think that is even exacerbated by the fact that we were speaking about yesterday, that the VCs got a bit tired of that low capital flow, TGE pumpamental squeeze of certain tokens, whether that's in gaming or in other areas, and then just riding that wave a bit until they all crash eventually, because most of them don't have a use case yet, or don't have one at all. And just that the meme coin narrative with a lot of liquidity and a completely different distribution as to some of the more quote-unquote traditional TGs that we might have been seeing over the last 12 months, it's just more enticing right now. And there's no need to be like, oh, wait for altcoins, wait for other things to happen, and then we're going to move into memes, if the opportunity of meme coins is just right in front of you. And obviously institutional VC money is jumping on that, or is looking at it, whether there's papers being written on that, whether that's even on an L2 level with Avalanche having their 100 million meme coin and cultural fund, which we've been speaking about. So all those things are pointing to me that the market is moving in a very, very fast way, and it's just moving to where things that obviously the biggest opportunity lies, and is not bound to follow a pattern that has occurred for the last 1 or 2 cycles, just because this is how it played out in the past.
Yeah, I think there's hugely, like, there's been a tectonic shift. Like, if you think about the volume, the number of new things that are going on now compared to before, like, I just think using the old paradigm as a way to study the potential future is just not taking the full environment into account. Sammy, want to come to you here to ask, like, do you think this barbell approach is the right one? Is that still okay? Then want to throw to Brad to get his reflections too.
I completely agree with Legendary that there is a change in the way the market is evolving. I think that there's a lot more maturity this cycle, and I think that we're going to have different participants. And I think there's 3 things that I'm looking at, right? There's the institutional side, which is the Bitcoin ETFs, maybe the ETH ETFs when they come, maybe even the Solana ETFs if that ever becomes a thing. But that will drive institutional capital, and that's where the significant inflows will come. Now, I think that is very different to retail money, and we're starting to see a glimpse of that with the return of Roaring Kitty over the past couple of days. it's piqued retail's interest. Like I've had normie friends messaging me asking about meme stocks. And I was like, I'm in crypto. I don't know too much about meme stocks, but I can tell you about this. So it's piqued their interest again, and they've come back in a little bit. I don't think they're necessarily going to go for the ETH, the Bitcoin, and maybe even the alts, because they got burnt last time round. And they know what it is. Most of them do, or they've heard of crypto. So I don't think it's anything new. So we're getting to that stage in the cycle where there has to be a killer use case for them to come back, or for them to be really interested to know that they're going to make a gain before that happens. And I think that leads me to the third point, which is, well, there has to be a killer app. Friendtech was supposed to be this thing that drove SocialFi, and ultimately, like the app's buggy. They're trying to build stuff out. Maybe it might come to something, but ultimately, there isn't really anything in the market that has really given that real use case of crypto with a product that the wide market wants to use. And I think maybe Fantasy Top's like piquing that interest. But again, it's like we're focused on the crypto Twitter side of people at the moment. If they can break out of the market into the wider influencer world with your Kim Kardashian or your Taylor Swift, then that has real use cases where ultimately crypto could be the underlayer for that. Until that happens, I don't think that we're going to see the massive inflows of retail that we've had previously. I do think that institutions are here to stay. Obviously, as Legendary mentioned around like the cultural fund for AVAX, Franklin Templeton writing papers on meme coins, like they have interest to go down that risk curve as well. It might be a longer process, maybe 5-10 year process to go down that risk curve. But I do think that retail is not going to come back in for the odd shitcoin or altcoin. I think it has to be for a real reason. I think that's yet to be seen.
Okay. Interesting perspectives there. Brad, I want to throw to you as well to get your perspective on like this very polarizing feeling that people seem to be feeling on the timeline at the moment. And I don't know, nothing seems to be enough.
Yeah, so I would actually go against a lot of what's being said for a few reasons. Like, so one, I think the flows that we're seeing is indicative of the participants still in the system, right? Like it's all, I would agree that there's not really any retail here because like, yeah, for all the reasons, like it's just not exciting yet, right? So retail's not here. So we're all trying to front run each other, and we've all like copy pasted the same fucking flows chart for the last 5 years of, okay, it starts on majors and then it goes to the miners and then it goes to alts and then it goes to meme coins. So we're all front running each other, and because it's all participants that are looking at the same goddamn chart, we're all doing the exact same goddamn thing. We're not like, no one's original, right? We've always done that. But I also disagree that we need like a legitimate project or product to bring in retail, because we've never had legitimate products. We just have speculation and like the promise of money like that is the thing that led to the last run, which was, oh, you can make a shit ton of money on JPEGs and people understand JPEGs. And before that it was, oh, you can make a shit ton of money on ICOs and like people can understand like a little bit of like, oh, it's a new paradigm, whatever. So like, I think meme coins can be that. I do believe in like the super cycle. I think that's broadly appealing as a market, and you're seeing it with Pump.Fund, like you posted today in the daily headlines, a snapshot, right? It's creating a shit ton of revenue. If you listen to like that team went through an incubator through Imran Khan and QZ, and they mentioned talking to the founders and saying that like a lot of the people that are like their actual customers are like fucking truck drivers that are literally just doing Pump.Fund degenning on the side, right? And then they actually had a conversation with a lot of gambling sites, and the gambling sites, and like it was a podcast, they admitted that they are losing market share to meme coins. Now, I don't know how they quantified that, but the founder of this gambling site, the sports betting site, said that's where they were leaking out customers to. So I think just broadly as a market, that can be appealing because it is, a lot of people can understand pictures, a lot of people can understand social narratives, whatever, and they're fine making money on it. And there's unlimited upside in a meme coin, which is enticing for a lot of bettors. So I don't know, like I also think cred is like overthinking a lot of that shit too, where like we absolutely had coins that did not pump. And I think maybe it's a little more pronounced this cycle because it's missing entire sectors like Ethereum. So the people that are impacted are more vocal as opposed to like a few Dino coins or maybe some DeFi things that didn't pump last cycle. But this was always the case. There's always things that don't pump with everything else. And because of that, there's a little bit of like disjointedness. That's a little more vocal this time because it is entire ecosystems.
Interesting. Like the kind of alternative perspective, very good context there as well. Cred is not an account I knew perfectly. So good to have some additional context there. Appreciate that thought, Brad. We want to keep it moving. Kind of, you mentioned Pump.Fund. So let's slide directly into that headline. because I think something is clearly going on. We've touched on the meme coin super cycle and meme coins in general a number of times already. But just to break down some of these numbers, I'm showing it live on screen for the people watching in on X and YouTube. Also, just going to read it out because this is like very, very impressive, or just maybe at a minimum indicative of who the main consumers are at the moment and what one of the best use cases is for crypto. So Pump.Fun generates $18.73 million in 3 months. It achieves 1.2 million daily fees and $100 million annual run rate. So for the people who don't know, Pump.Fun is this website where you can basically just deploy meme coins over and over and over again. And it's really, really found product market fit because people are doing it over and over again. It's making a huge amount of money. So with daily fees have ranged between 400,000 to 500,000, according to this article, amounting to 18.7 million since its inception approximately 3 months ago. Another key statistic is I think one of the days last week had 19,000 meme coins deployed on it. It's pretty crazy. Over the past 7 days, Pump.Fun has generated over 4 million in revenue, which is basically Solana's revenue as well. The platform is currently on a $100 million annual run rate, showcasing the potential for rapid and efficient product development in the crypto space. Sammy, I think you wanted to come in on the previous thing, but I'll bring you in here because just for some reflections on this, we've been speaking about meme coins a little bit. This is like, I don't know, to the extent that meme coins are a product and people say invest in picks and shovels, this is the shovel play, right? Like this is the product which helps you go and make your own meme coin. Is this the future of the industry? What's your reflection on this?
Well, I think this is the perfect product for those participants that are in the market now, because ultimately we love to speculate. I think humans love to speculate on stuff. I think the participants that are here at the moment are the ultimate speculators. You've got a lot of professional poker players that have come in. You've got a lot of gamblers that have come in. And this is probably the casino in its purest form. So it's like, well, meme coins, everyone knows, like you talk about fair launch, everyone knows that you're literally speculating on the price of the token going up and someone buying it for more. So, and you can build narratives around it. But I think Pump.Fun is the ultimate product for those market participants. And that's why it's doing so well at the moment. I don't necessarily think it appeals to a wider market audience because not your average person isn't going to want to launch a speculative meme coin for whatever reason. But I think at the moment, it just has that product market fit with the people that are here at the moment.
Okay. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Legendary, I wanted to ask, like, do you think this kind of linking it into the tweet we talked about yesterday where VCs are getting, everyone is getting disappointed with these low float, high FTV tokens. Is this the solution? Like, look, if you can't get a humongous win from one of these tokens where you invest early and then sell it to the market later and retail comes and buys it, is it better for you to like put a little bit of work in, use your capital and expertise and knowledge and contacts to build a meme coin from the ground up, kind of like what PackMoon is doing, which is pretty impressive. Like PackMoon didn't even exist. Now it's sitting at a, what is it, 150 million market cap. Like it's pretty insane that they're just building the coin up from the ground. Like, is this a potential business model for like, look, this seems to be what people are interested in. Maybe we should almost formalize and professionalize the creation of these things. Is that even possible? What do you think?
Two aspects to that answer. So first of all, if everyone would do that and nobody would build, quote unquote, a real protocol, I'm not saying communities ain't real, but not build a game like Cambria, not build YOLO, not build, I don't know, Wasabi, etc., then PackMoon couldn't go out and partner with those communities and be like, yo, I'm bringing in an active and interesting community to your product.
Sure.
And B, this is not new behavior. Like I feel many people haven't maybe been around for DeFi Summer 2020. And that was absolutely insane. You had DeFi copycats, almost memeable projects launching, and you could buy into shit with the baseline expectation that, yeah, overnight or maybe over the next one to 2 weeks, that's $1 billion token that I'm aping into. And that meme season was insane. And then people got fatigued of that and they were like, nah, let's actually build real products. Then We went into the cycle of building real products, and we're like, hey, nobody in crypto can build a real product. Memes are more simple, and we get fed up with the low float shit, and we are back to meme coins. And the difference to me is that this time it's a super cycle and it's bigger, and we have now institutional interest, not saying institutional money necessarily in meme coins, but it's nothing new. And again, it might sound a bit in contradiction to what I've been saying earlier, that the things from the last cycle are not repeating. And I'm saying it's not repeating in the order of things, but per se, the topics that we are covering and the things that we're looking into are the same. Like there's no product category popping up. NFTs was a new product category, but the meme nature of things and that like constant tension between building a real product or having a meme community and being fatigued with one and moving into another, it's something we've seen. Maybe the order is changing. The order is definitely changing of how capital is flowing, but per se, it's not a new pattern or not a new thing to look at. And for that, I can't say that one is better than the other. It's just part of the cyclical nature of things we've been experiencing in crypto for years.
Okay, I think that's fair. I definitely want to get to this Polymarket news in just a little bit. We only have 10 minutes left of the show today, but Brad, I want to give you a chance to come back in on that, a final take and draw a line under the meme coin / meme supercycle takes for today.
Yeah, I was just gonna. There's another parallel in the ecosystem on Mantle. It's called Puff, and it's something similar, and it's actually run by the actual official Mantle Corporation. And like, so if you view like tokens themselves are just coordination mechanisms, whether it's a fucking meme coin or an NFT or whatever, tokens allow for us to coordinate with each other, right? And the thesis behind this shit is just that if you take this professional angle and do the meme coin stuff, then you garner the audience before you garner the product, as opposed to building the product and then going, no one gives a shit about my thing, right? Which is sometimes what we see in the space. People create great things, no one gives a shit. So I would just say that, like, yeah, like that's kind of the VC think piece on what meme coins actually facilitated. You get coordination amongst a bunch of people, and if you can garner attention and or an audience, and then work that into the product, then there's like a flow there that's just trying to be tapped into.
Yeah, very nice point on the kind of creation of the community / audience first. I think it's just absolutely crucial. But distribute. I'm reminded of the quote, and me and Legendary know this from the time we had our first product out called Airdrop Season. Like first time founders prioritize products, second time founders prioritize distribution. And that's
distribution, man. It's all that fucking matters. Look at the L2s, right? OP Stack and fucking Bait. It's like Arbitrum. All of those guys launched without, like, they're not L2s. They don't have shit. It's optimistic world. It's not very good, but they said get out to market, create a token, get excitement, get people, get users, and then because you have users, you're sticky. Whereas then you have stacks like ZK Sync and a lot of these other things that are like spent a shit ton of time trying to be better technically, but no one gives a fuck because there's no token in their pocket, right?
Yeah. Very, very important discussion to have. Appreciate those takes as always from everyone on that topic, but we want to get on to a couple of the other headlines after the Web3 roundup, as always, from the snapshot, which is pinned up top, getting you up to speed with everything else that happened in the past 24 hours. Here we go, live on screen for people watching in as well. Number one, Fantasy Top hits second all-time high trading volume in a row with 1.29K of ETH traded. Number two, this is big news that I didn't actually see many people talking about. The Tornado Cash developer was found guilty of money laundering. A Dutch court found the Tornado Cash developer guilty on Tuesday, sentencing him to 64 months in prison, accused of laundering 1.2 billion of crypto through Tornado Cash, which is obviously this crypto mixer. So we're going to have to monitor that further. Next, Imaginary One's token launched yesterday, stabilized around $113 million FDV. Number four, Zeneca announces mint details for Blaster Mint. Zen is a mindset. Just in case you don't know, Zeneca will be on the show with us later, not later today. He will be with us tomorrow to do a little Fantasy Top segment, but also will be chilling with us for the whole show too. Can't wait to have him on. Next, US House to consider Financial Innovation and Technology of 21st Century Act this week. This was shared by Chris Dixon. So a very important kind of regulatory thing happening stateside. Roaring Kitty tweets Braveheart themed video with GME dropped at the end. Token rips 30%. That's going to be just interesting to watch, the wild volatility that Roaring Kitty sparks And finally, social network Lens announces move to ZK Sync. Brett just mentioned ZK Sync is one that people don't care about. Lens have just moved over. I wonder if there was some financial incentive linked to that. But that's what they did. I don't know how it was working out on Polygon. Okay, that's the Web3 roundup to get you up to speed with everything else from around the space. We've got 2 other headlines, which I think we will go into. I think Legendary will lead on the Polymarket stuff, but I just wanted to share for people just the quick details of the Wisconsin Investment Board buy, because I think it's important, but it's probably not a huge amount to discuss further. The state of Wisconsin's Investment Board, I'm going to share the article so people can see it as well. Disclosed holdings in BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF on Tuesday. It was $99 million. According to the website, the agency is an investment organization that manages the Wisconsin retirement system and state investment funds alongside some smaller funds. So I think crypto Twitter reacted quite positively to this. A lot of people, including Eric Balkunas, who is our favorite ETF reporter, suggested was kind of surprised to see a state pension fund buying this stuff so early. And my response to it was basically like, guys, everyone's getting so bearish, and this is the exact type of institution that people were waiting to buy this type of stuff, and everyone's getting like horrifically bearish as the kind of end state, well, maybe not the perfect end state, but like an end state is playing out. So I think that's pretty interesting. I wanted to bring that up, but we want to get into the Polymarket stuff, Legendary, because that's maybe a little bit more unique. I know you mess around on prediction markets, so maybe you want to set up this piece of news of Polymarket raising 70 mil here.
Yeah, absolutely. As you said, Polymarket is certainly the most popular prediction market out there. Basically, you can bet on everything from politics, sports, crypto, pop culture, random things. Definitely the biggest bet that we're seeing out there, unsurprisingly, the winner of the presidential election in the United States, with a total betting volume of over 120 mil, 125.5 mil to be precise. Just for reference, for example, the bet on whether Ethereum will have an ETF by the end of May is only a $5 million bet in terms of total funds deposited into that. The thing that's quite noteworthy about the round, that's actually a double round. So basically Series A and Series B have been raised at the same time. And it's very interesting that you have some pretty prominent investors in there. You have the $25 million Series A round, which is led by Peter Thiel's VC firm. But more interestingly, you have the Series B round, where actually Vitalik himself got in, as he is someone who likes to track stuff on Polymarket too, to get a good view on what the market is thinking. And I personally do like the platform for that, because if you just want to gauge the sentiment of a certain topic, it's beautiful to look at it, because people who are betting have like skin in the game on whatever they are saying, and it's just a different kind of qualification than scrolling through X and seeing 4 people posting this, 5 people posting that. You get a pretty aggregate view on political events, on views on crypto, and also how they are changing. How is the conviction of an ETH ETF changing over time? And from a user perspective, you can obviously enter a bet and you can exit it before it terminates. So say I enter a bet that ETH ETF will be approved, and that has a very low chance of happening, and suddenly there's very positive news around that and people think it's happening. I can basically exit the bet before the event has even happened, which makes it quite interesting and quite entertaining to use, quite frankly.
Very entertaining. Super little summary of the raise. One follow-up question, Legendary, before we close out for the day, because I think we're running out of time, is this basically, would it be fair to say, maybe this is with my cynical lawyer hat on, would it be fair to say that the reason why this is particularly illuminating is it's kind of banking, it kind of assumes and banks on humans' desire and willingness to trade on insider information, because as soon as something that no one should know the answer to is not skewed 50-50, you can assume that people are insider trading, basically. Is that fair or not quite?
It's certainly it's certainly something that has been happening. I would argue that we've seen that with Arbitrum. Again,
Oh,
I
yeah, I
don't want to
remember that
raise
one.
an official allegation that there's been insider trading,
Yeah.
but what you could see on Polymarket is 50-50. Is the airdrop going to happen in the next 2 weeks, yes or no? And suddenly that skewed massively towards yes, and then the airdrop actually happened within the time frame. Again, I'm not saying there was any insider trading going on, but it certainly looked like it. So probably also a use case of that. But I don't think that's the main reason. It would be unfair to say that this is the main reason for the success of the platform, which is also not what you've been saying, but just wanted to add that
Sure.
for clarity.
Yeah, okay, that's helpful context. Sammy, a final take on this, or maybe the BTC news, which we kind of skipped over quickly. Final take to bring the show to a close.
Yeah, I think the Polymarket stuff's super interesting, probably more from a data standpoint, just in terms of you got this push from AI. To what extent can they use that information to maybe sell that data elsewhere? And I'm sure there's probably legal restrictions around that. But ultimately, I think Legendary made the point of linking it back to comparing it to data on Twitter. And that's the direction that Elon's taking the Twitter platform. So it's like, okay, well, what are the tertiary or the secondary use cases for Polymarket? And can they actually use that? And does that justify the 70 billion raise or whatever valuation it was raised at? So it'd be interesting to see how that plays out. And I think that if you got people like Peter Thiel behind it, I do think that it's probably going to do relatively well. And there's going to be other ulterior motives to using the platform other than prediction markets.
Yeah, interesting stuff. Appreciate the takes, guys. As always, we've run a little bit over because we're just having a good discussion and just enjoying ourselves. So hope you've enjoyed yourselves too. Thank you so much, as always, to my legendary co-host, Legendary and Sammy. Thank you to our contributors today, those up on stage, Bread, Funky, and Tiro. And thank you for listening in. As always, we do this live every single day, Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. Eastern time for 1 hour. We're live on X, we're live on YouTube, and we hope you have a wonderful day and that we see you tomorrow. Take care. Have a good one. Bye-bye.